Right, I'm going to show you how I lay up a wing, or in this case an elevator. So mix up some epoxy resin and paint a very light coat onto the mold. Then take the 26 gram carbon biax and carefully position this in place, making sure it's right up against the leading edge. Then carefully wet out the carbon. I'm using a brush here and stroking in the direction of the fiber, and not across the fiber grain, but in the direction of the fiber grain. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is debulk that skin by putting some paper towel over it and basically dabbing up or mopping up the excess resin out of the laminate with some paper towel. And you'll see I do this about 3 times. Although it doesn't look like it, there is actually quite a lot of excess resin, and all that is doing is adding weight and not really contributing to the strength. That was the first piece of paper towel. Second piece, and third and final piece. Just being very sort of diligent and trying to mop up as much of the excess resin as you can. You'll also notice that this one is a lot lighter than the first two, which means that most of the excess resin has now been absorbed by the paper towel. Okay, here I'm actually punching little holes with a roller puncher through this is a polystyrene core that I've used. I'm just dusting it off, making sure that there's no dust on it. Fortunately, I broke the piece there a little bit, but it's not a problem because it's easy enough to realign it. Then this has got to be positioned very carefully, also right up against the leading edge, and put some weights on it just to hold it in place whilst we do the next step. Okay, here I've taken some plastic sheet, put it on the workbench, drawn a outline of the elevator on the underside of that piece of plastic, rolled out some 49 gram glass cloth, and that's also cut at 45 degrees, this cloth, so that the fibers are orientated at 45 degrees. And then using a squeegee on that flat surface, it's easy to wet that piece of cloth out without putting excessive amounts of resin. Once it's fully wet out, then you pick it up and put it on, turn it over and put it onto the mold, and then carefully remove the plastic. What I'd forgotten to do was add some tip doublers, just little strips of carbon that I put underneath the core just to add some strength to the tip. That's just a little bit of carbon that I'd cut, fit it nicely in there and wet that out. and then carefully remove the plastic, leaving the glass behind. It's a bit of a trick, but a bit of careful work, and you manage to do it. You'll see me with my right hand there spreading the glass out, making sure that it's nicely spread out and stuck down, and then pull the plastic off. A little bit of a anomaly there at the end, so just straightening that all out, making sure that it's all nicely dabbed down. So that's your laminate complete. Now you're going to put some peel ply down over that, and on top of that some perforated release film. I like to use perforated release film so any excess resin can be sucked through that into the air bleed. Now the air bleed comes next. It's folded over the top, so it goes over the top and the bottom of the mold. And here I'm just adding in, just taping the ends to hold them closed. Then I'm going to start the top. This is the peel ply hinge that I'm inserting. I've obviously laid the carbon in first. Then the peel ply is cut at 45 degrees on a piece of masking tape, wet out on the bench, and then turned over, put into position. Make sure it's the right way around. Cut it to length. I just used 2 pieces there. It was some offcuts that I had. And here I'm now peeling back the masking tape and leaving the peel ply in position. That was the first strip. Now onto the second strip. You just got to be careful not to elongate that peel ply when you're doing that process. This is a piece of 106 gram glass, also cut at 45 degrees, which is a doubler over the entire control surface and over the peel ply, just a little bit wider than the front of the peel ply. Wet that out. And then again, just sop up any excess resin. This is a piece of paper towel that I'd used previously. Just mopping up or sopping up any excess epoxy that's only adding weight and not adding any strength. So we don't need that. To get rid of that, throw that away, mop up the excess. And then again, of course, the core goes in. This has been pre-punched. Just wiping off any dust, removing little bits and pieces, aligning the core, and pretty much what I did in the first half, getting that all pretty much nicely aligned. Here I'll show you just taking a template, marking out the profile, and then turning it over, taping it down so it stays flat, and then opening the 49 gram glass cloth on top of that, wetting this out, and pretty much the same procedure as last time. Wet it out nicely, get rid of all the excess. And then position it over the mold and remove the plastic backer. Okay, so that was done then. Put some paper, towel down on the workbench, rolled open my bag, and put the 2 cores into the 2 molds into the bag. Put on the vacuum breech unit. This is a piece of electric trunking with a wooden dowel that I use for sealing the bag. Trunk underneath, bag on top, and then the dowel pushes it tight. And here I'm connecting my vacuum to the vacuum breech unit, switching it on, waiting for it to suck all the air out of the bag. I'll show you the vacuum setup. The pump is the blue thing and the red and white is the controller. The red and yellow was the controller. And here I'm just going over, rubbing it down, making sure there's no creases. And that's it. You leave it